recording. And Orlando, whenever you get it, you can just let us know you got it. But right now, we are recording. This is Lindsey Huddleston with the SPS Mental Toughness Zoom class. It's a special day for a number of reasons. We are saying goodbye only temporarily to the outstanding intern, Mr. Delano DJ Swift. He's going to be headed back to Monmouth College in Illinois. He's done an excellent job this summer. Really was great working with you. We're also introducing Mr. Terry TJ McCord, Jr., that is, of Lansing Eastern, on his way over to Michigan State University by way of Lansing Community College, doing some great things, keeping his business in order, was an outstanding student athlete, just as DJ was. And we cannot forget Coach Orlando Watkins holding us down. We call him Houston. He's our home base while we're out here throughout the world sharing this great message. We appreciate him working to share this on many platforms. So with that, DJ, I'll defer to you because you set the tone that the interns for the SPS Mental Toughness Zoom class can really lead these discussions, and I want to see what you want to talk about and where we can go with this.
Yeah, I mean, we talked a little bit about it before recording, but I just recently sent in an email or an essay to you through email for the internship. And within that essay, I really talked about the importance of mental health in children through COVID-19. But within there, I talked a lot about the negative aspects that come with, being quarantined and stuck at home and this and that. But today, I really wanted to ask you and talk to you about some of the positives that could come out of it.
Today is a big day, man, because yesterday was when you heard Kevin Warren announcing that the Big Ten football program was going to be, quote unquote, postponed until January. I mean, that was kind of like, a bucket of cold water in everybody's face. Because let's be honest, myself included, when COVID-19 first broke, man, I was the first. I was at a Big Ten championship. I was in Indiana, in Indianapolis, at the Big Ten championship when they came over the loudspeaker say it's being shut down. So I'll never forget that. It was March 13th. And right then I was like, man, we're not going to have football. I said that. I said it on television, Jack Ebling's press pass. You guys both know Jack Ebling. I said, no, we're not going to have it. There's no way. But then when the Bill Beekmans of the world, the athletic directors at Michigan State and others start coming together and talking about their protocols, like I told Jack Ebling on his show today, The Drive with Jack, the fan in me, guys, was like, okay, this can work. This can work. So I kind of, got more emotionally connected by saying, man, I want it to work. But just the reality now, and I think the best comment was made by Joey Galloway, formerly of Ohio State. He was on one of the national programs talking about football. He said, man, and DJ, you played football. I'm sorry, Terry, you played football. And DJ, you're an athlete. You know the same thing. He said, these guys aren't even wearing pads yet. They haven't been able to practice long enough to get in pads. And you all know that if you can't go through the different steps to where you can get in your pads, you can get to this part, not only is there an issue with COVID, the health issue with COVID, but there's just a physical safety issue about you being ready. So to get to your question, here's the thing, man. This is the point I want to make, and I think this will take us in a new direction going forward. Right now, the physical part of sport is done, but the mental part still goes on. And that's tough because as human beings, we're so used to responding to things as it relates to the physical part. We can go out there and throw a ball, make a layup, shoot a three-pointer, et cetera. But when you got to sit back and think about it, that's a different level. So that's my response to your question. I think we have to recognize that we have no choice but to embrace the mental part. For the work that I do at SPS and the clients that I work with individually, whether it's clients throughout the country, having, whether it's sessions like this where we can get more young people to come on and express how they feel about what's happening and try to find some solutions, but also, getting those opportunities to work with people individually. I mean, there's still an opportunity for you to increase parts of your game. Now, the last thing I'll say, and I'll defer back to you, DJ, and definitely want to be able to get Terry in when you get a chance to bring him in. But, there are different categories for athletes right now. You have athletes who are like Terry, who just finished their senior year, and they're transitioning to a non-sport aspect of their, academic career. You're going to transition, not playing sports now. Then it's guys like you going back for that last year, trying to see what can happen. Now, you may be in a minority, but you represent a very significant part of the population because it's like, well, what do I do? How do I look at this? Now, that person who's in between, the guy who's a sophomore right now on your team, be like, I'm straight because it's probably a good chance in another year or two at least we'll play. And I think it's fair to think like that. But I think it's really hard for people who are in these categories where they don't really know how much they should be passionate about trying to continue their sport, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, I mean, I get that. I know a lot of my sports at my school, they canceled until January. A lot of those players are just, I'm staying home for this first semester and I'll come back later. You know, and they're giving us that option, which is really cool as a school. But it just shows that because there's no sports, you know, college is up. Like, people really don't even really want to show up, and that's kind of crazy to think about. And they try to say that it's not a lot of money, they shouldn't be paid, and that's a whole different story.
No, I think you make a good point though. The term student athlete, we keep talking about this term, and the NCAA love to use this term when they say athletes should be paid. Oh no, you're a student athlete. Okay, well, no sports going on. You can provide me all the same resources you provided me when the season was taking place. Am I still going to eat real good like I used to? Am I still going to have access to the healthcare, the medical piece, and all those things? Are you going to be ready to just look after me like you normally would? Are you going to say, don't go home, stay here, and while you're here, we're going to make sure it's an environment that's safe? So I think I was talking to Jack Ebling about this on our show earlier today. I mean, the term hypocrisy, you guys are intelligent enough to understand that. You know, the term hypocrisy, you know, you got to ask yourself, you know, is this a hypocritical thing going on? They're saying, oh, you're student athletes, but since you're not playing a sport, you know, you can go home. But no, if you're a student athlete, you still should be there no matter what. I don't know. What do you think, Terry?
I think obviously, I mean, it's kind of hard to do being an athlete and not being able to play the game that you've worked so hard for year-round. Football is like a year-round sport that you train for, but I think this will kind of separate like regular athletes, those who are just there to play the sport, and those that make the most of this opportunity and be, you know, official student athletes. And so I think, you know, just being able to take full advantage of what the school offers you. You know, they also offer you a chance to play, but they also give you a chance to get, you know, a higher education and whatever you choose, you know what I'm saying? So I feel like this is a good opportunity for them to kind of really focus on what they chose to pursue and try to see if they can either make money or find a way to impact either themselves, the community, those around, and whatever they choose. So I think it's a good opportunity for them to focus more on the academics because they're there to play sports and go to school.
That's a good point.
Would you say that's a positive, being able to focus on the academic side rather than just all athletics?
Yeah, it's a positive, you know, but I think what you've done, DJ, you've kind of poked the bear a little bit with the comment you made, meaning you kind of touched on something because now I can't unsee it. You know, when you see something you don't want to see and you can't unsee it, meaning, you know, TJ, you make a good point. Let's focus on the academics. Let's focus on that. But that's going to be such a tough mental shift for so many student athletes because a lot of these guys are here just to play the sport. And I'm not really faulting the athlete for that, but it's the environment that collegiate sports has created. I mean, you know, they're really just here to where, you know, Jordan Reed of Michigan State tweeted, you know, we talked about this on the show also, that it's all about revenue. It's not about player safety. You know, talking about, you know, $52 million revenue sharing check per Big Ten school. I mean, dude, that's the kind of money, man, people end up in the trunks of cars over. I hate to say it, but I'm just saying, it's like, those are big time issues. So I think what we're dealing with, man, we can sit here and try to be morally correct. Like we had this discussion, say, you know, it's about focusing on the academics, which you're absolutely right. But the thing I can't unsee, the smell I can't, you know, not smell, the stench of the hypocrisy of the money behind this, that if it wasn't about money, it wouldn't be a discussion. So I wonder if this is the NCAA finally getting their skirt pulled up where they kind of, I don't mean to be vulgar by talking like that, but it's kind of like, all right, so what you really going to do? How long you going to really talk about is about the player's safety and health as opposed to being about the money? And I blame you for making me go down that road, DJ, because you posed that question. And now I'm like, man, I can't get away from it.
I mean, it's a pretty important discussion. I mean, it even goes past athletes. It just talks about students in general. I mean, a lot of schools are giving them the option to come back to school because they want that check for the semester, your room and board, and your, you know. So that brings up the question: is how much do you really trust your school on how they're trying to keep everything safe. And for the most part, my school is a very small school, not a lot of buildings, and we have a lot of maintenance who they posted videos of them sanitizing all the laundry rooms, the dorm kitchens, sanitizing the classrooms, and making sure everything's clean, handles, the doors are all clean. But for the bigger institutions who, D1 schools who have thousands and thousands of students, how much can you really trust that it's safe for them to go back and it's not just a money grab?
I mean, you're on a roll today, DJ. You leaving this last one on fire. I mean, that's the point. These institutions have a fiduciary responsibility to create revenue to sustain themselves. It's been funny, man. Before COVID-19, you could probably agree that the best gig to get is a gig on a college campus, the best job to have, because for the most part, whether you're a professor or whether you're, embedded in the university in some way other than coaching, because we know coaching doors go back and forth, but it was so much stability. And I think for the sake of this call, since we're talking about mental toughness, that is a word, stability, or another word, quote unquote, safety, that we really need to analyze, gentlemen, because are these real words? What do you mean, Lindsay? I'm not talking about Scrabble. You can get points with them or whatnot. But do you really have stability? Do you really have safety? When you talk about within 4 months, we went from high-fiving, hanging out with each other, whether it's Moneyball, whether it's a game or something like that, to saying that we can't even be around each other. So things have changed so much, but then we're still trying to bring these other normal things back into play. Now, I'll say this too. I'd love to get you guys' opinion on it as well. I want to say that canceling this football season saved college football. Now, what do you mean, Lindsay? The fact that all these people running around who don't want to commit to wearing a mask, who don't want to commit to social distancing, who don't want to commit to what science has said is the best thing to get this thing underway, now something real, unlike the financial part, unlike the loss of human life, but something else very personal has been taken away from them. You go to some of these, particularly some of these southern states, or use Alabama as an example, that doesn't have a professional basketball team in a bubble, that doesn't have a football team they can jump behind like that, a national NFL team. In fact, you can't do your thing in Happy Valley for Penn State. You can't do it at Bama. That's going to make these people say, oh, man, the same people that was hanging out on these coastal regions, face-to-face partying, like not caring, now that your biological clock as it relates to that time of the year, when the fall comes, when the weather changes, and you got to kind of throw a sweater on and go out here for college football, now that you can't have that, that might be the one thing that can help self-correct everything that's been going on. I don't know.
Yeah.
That's the thing.
I mean, it makes sense. I mean, a lot of people are refusing to wear a mask and thinking that it's not real. But, I mean, you're 100% right. If you take something away that they really like or really appreciate, it might make them reconsider. Like, hey, it's like a toddler. If they want some candy, they're not acting up. They got to eat their dinner first. You take the candy away, they're going to do what they got to do first. Just make sure they get the candy back.
Now, what you said, DJ, as basic and simple as that was, that makes a lot of sense. You've taken something from them. Because someone put a meme up a while ago before we even got to this point about college football, saying if you really want people to do right, take away college football. Well, that's happening. And the other thing about this, I know like the Big Ten, other Big Ten schools are saying, well, we're looking at January. People kill me talking about when they go do something. Like the coronavirus is on the phone listening, saying, yeah, okay, that'll work. Like the coronavirus is a person that you can convince. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, Terry, man, can we do it in January? DJ, can we, does that work for you? And you like, yeah, no, we have no control. And the one thing we do know, that if we conduct ourselves a certain way, take the politics out of it, there's a very good chance we can get to where we want to be. But we're not doing that. Look at the NBA bubble, guys. 0 positive coronavirus tests, results, that is. That's because they have a contained environment. They're testing every day. People on quarantine when they come in. They're managing it. Now, it's going to be interesting with the playoffs starting next week. And I know you guys are 2 basketball fans as well as Coach Watkins down there in Detroit. They're letting family and friends come in. Now, you got to do a 7-day quarantine, and it can only be people that are established relationships. That's for those all those Instagram OnlyFans people. But I think still the NBA is going to be able to manage that situation. And then we also have to look at, too, guys, This is, we're going on August 13th and not March 13th. Man, when this thing first hit, I mean, for me particularly being from Detroit, I mean, Coach Watkins knows. He's right down there in the mix. We know some of the same people. But everybody out here saying it was a hoax, everybody here saying it wasn't real, dog, it was real. Because it went through some people that myself, Coach Watkins, I know some of you guys may know too. So the reality is that, I don't know, man. It's like people don't want to listen, like you said, DJ, until you take something that they really care about. Yeah. And it probably didn't have anything to do with the money that was lost or the lives being lost. It's something that they relate to, which is college football, which is going to make people listen.
All right. Speaking on COVID, Terry, can you speak a little bit on how COVID kind of impacted your summer and what you have planned and how everything may have or may have not changed a little bit?
Oh, man. I think just first off was the college decision. So at first, I went through the process of making that decision of, do I decide to pay for room and board and go get the opportunities at Michigan State, or do I go to my local community college, Lansing Community College, and take my 3 years there and then go to Michigan State? So I was caught in that dilemma, and I really just was like, I wanted to make the best financial choice, which I think was cool because Michigan State's president sent a letter home in the mail about a week ago talking about how, if you can learn from home, stay home. Like, it's not worth the money. And I thought that was very mature, and I thought it was like a compliment to him that he came to us and like, no, don't pay your money here. Like, go, like, stay home, be safe, where you can manage your own safety in a way, just by staying home and doing your work. But I thought that was very bold of him, and I thought it was really cool. So I decided to, go to Lansing Community College and do my thing there and go to Michigan State. And also just like canceling graduation, prom, all these things that you kind of look forward to kind of made you appreciate those years a little bit more as a freshman, as a junior, and your sophomore years. It just makes you really appreciate those things that you kind of took for granted because you were a kid and you didn't really realize that those things can be taken away. So it kind of gave me the sense of perspective of, just being appreciative and always thinking about what's going on now and not really too worried about things you can't handle.
Yeah. See, I know a lot of people who, I mean, my dad talks about it a lot, is faith over flesh, and following flesh is following what feels good. And a lot of people I know are freshmen who are opting out of their freshman year or taking a gap year because they feel like they can't get the same college experience. So I'll take a year off. And go, then next year, if everything clears up, then I'll go to college and start using that experience, which if you're going there for the experience and not for the degree, good for you. But a lot of people just, they understand that degree is a lot more important than the experience.
It's cool that they had that option for gap year, and I know that's something that is really big in Canada. Canada has like a 13th grade. I learned about that years ago, that they take some time off. But I think a lot of people, DJ, going to be kicking themselves once a year passes, and they be like, what did I do in a year? I could have been a year along into my education compared to what? I'm still going to be at home. Everybody going to be at home. So I'm at home, and DJ is in Monmouth finishing up his time. Terry is starting up his year. So a year from now, these guys are a year ahead of the game, and I'm sitting here with a COVID gap year. I don't understand the benefit of doing that.
I mean, for them, it's the personal experience. Is they want to experience the college living and feel like they can't do that from home. But
you go put everything on hold for that? Wow.
I've talked to a couple of people who made that choice, and
to each his own. But I just really think, and maybe because I'm a little bit older, man. And I was talking to Terry about this the other day. How things go so fast, and you much rather, in my view, it's kind of like they said, well, you don't know what to do something. So if you know that, hey, man, that place we got to get to is about a couple miles that way, instead of just waiting, man, just start walking. So that's just my opinion on that. I mean, I hope that serves people well. But I tell you what, man, after about your second year in college gets old real quick. Yeah. I know that sounds crazy. I mean, DJ, you can speak to that. You've been on the campus. Is that somewhat of a fair statement?
Yeah, I mean, freshman year was great, and I got to meet a lot of cool people, and I mean, we won the conference championship. So, I mean, it was always great, but it's not something where I'm like, yeah, this is all I came here for. Like, I got good grades. I was 0.2 GPA off of make an honor roll. So I was focused on other stuff than just partying and
Yeah.
hanging out with people.
Yeah, I was once told, I never forget this, man. I was once told, maybe my junior in college, that it was stated that realistically you can complete your education by your sophomore year. It just becomes, again, a financial benefit to the university to extend you to be there. Because you notice, I mean, DJ, you're not at that point now, TJ, Terry, but DJ, you know, once you got into your junior year, man, the classes get easier, but you kind of like, man, why are we stretching this out like this? It's kind of like they get you the core classes freshman and sophomore year. But junior and senior year, it's kind of like, oh, they stretched it out a little bit more. And for you to kind of stay locked into that experience. Because think about if people were done with college in 2 years. I mean, where would that put these colleges and universities, you know, who are making all this money?
Yeah, they want the 4-year people because, I mean, they bump tuition up every year at a lot of institutions. It goes up by a couple thousand every semester, damn near. So,
yeah. I got a question for both you guys as athletes and just great young men. You know, what do you think a lot of these athletes who got the word about the season being over, you know, what are they going through right now? I mean, are some of them, you think, completely shocked, or some of them kind of like, yeah, I kind of figured that was coming, you know? And how would you react if you were in this situation, if you were at Michigan State, you know, ready to play football, and you got this call?
Go ahead, Terry. I'll let you answer this one first.
All right. So I think if I was a college athlete, I think it all depend on my year. I think if I was a senior, I'd probably be a little bummed. I'd be bummed for sure by not being able to compete this year. But the thing about the eligibility, I think you just have to see where you're at as an athlete. I think one is just like, you have that chance to take the next step and go professional, or like, are you pretty much done? You know, like where you're at. So I think that's where like you can kind of see where that degree gets you, where you're pretty much done. And like if you're, you know, you have that chance, like maybe one more year, I'd probably take the eligibility and, you know, play that last year. But I think a lot of my high school buddies, the ones that are younger than me, they were pretty bummed. And I really get on them, you know, like I feel for them. You know, I was capable of trying to help them out, you know, and do what I can. But I kind of felt how they were feeling because of my high school year. I didn't finish due to injury. And so I really felt how they were feeling. But I think a lot of it is like due to them, you know, working so hard and, you know, not being able to compete and do what they want to do. But I really felt for them, and I really just got them to realize that, like, it's not all about this right now. Don't think about what's happening to you. Make the most of it, you know, learn something new. And a lot of it, like due to my school, we don't really get the chance to see the bright side of things. I think a lot of times we worry about the negatives, and sports is really the only positive thing that we really got at our school sometimes. So I think just getting them to really think outside the box, get them out their comfort zone, and get them to really think that there's other things than sports, and how sports can really help them do the things that they're meant to do and follow their passion.
Very good.
Yeah, I want to touch back on something he said earlier to answer that, show how it's going to affect the athletes. I think it really depends on the level of dedication. Terry said earlier that it would, you know, separate the real athletes who are actually there, who want to get better and compete, or just the ones who are just like, I'm here just because I want to have fun or I want to play. I feel like a lot of them who aren't dedicated, this won't impact them a way where they can just be like, well, yeah, I get to stay home, and you know, I don't really have to go to all those early morning workouts and do all the lifting and practice. And you know, a lot of people don't like the grind. Damian Lillard liked to talk about that recently. People don't like the grind.
You've done a good job researching some things on Damian Lillard, and it's come to pass, man. He's truly a warrior. What he's been doing and separating himself. I mean, that's another conversation too. So let me ask you guys this, and man, and with the time we have, we'll get ready to wrap up. And DJ, I definitely want to be able to get you to have some final remarks as you wrap up your internship and just share, so we can finish with that. And I'm only asking because I have a relationship with both you guys, and I probably wouldn't ask this under any other circumstances, but how much about this situation is it fair to say to a college athlete, you should have saw this coming? You know, for the senior, or for that guy who's like, no, this is it. And then they get that word. Is it fair to be like, dude, did you really think we were going to be able to play? Or for some people, they're completely clueless, like, dog, I thought it was going to work, and it's okay to think like that. I mean, is it fair to fault somebody for really believing in this opportunity? What do you think?
No, I think the whole situation itself is really unfair at the timing and how it happened. Like, I even know last year it happened towards the end of our season, and we couldn't even finish our Midwest Conference tournament because everything got shut down. So I just think the whole the whole situation in general is really unfair, but it's just represents life. Life is unfair and stuff's going to hit you, and it's how you react. Are you going to lay down or are you going to get back up and keep pushing at it? So.
Yeah, it reminds me of like playing dodgeball or something where somebody about to hit you and you know they're going to hit you. You're trying to get away from it. You're trying to move, but you know it's coming, you know, and maybe that's me being older, but I think one thing you guys have both said and I'm very impressed by is that that's just part of life. And that's like the one thing we don't want to accept. Like, man, this kind of happened with life, you know. I mean, these are life lessons, you know. It's like, it's unfortunate, but, you know, this is part of it. But nobody really want to hear that because they want what they want. So, Terry, tell me your thoughts, and we'll just finish out with DJ.
I think I never want to fault somebody for thinking optimistic.
Okay, I like that. Hold on. I never want to fault somebody for thinking optimistic. That's a quotable right there. Very good.
Yeah, I mean, I think as athletes, we're always taught to think positive and make the most of what you got. So, I mean, honestly, I don't fault them at all. I feel for them. I really feel bad that they got put in that situation. But a lot of times, even though you may think so positive, I think true growth is when you're able to accept something and make it your own and make your own story. So, I mean, like, I know somebody like Justin Fields or Trevor Lawrence, like, I mean, they hear, you know, their season's canceled. It's like, man, like I really was hoping for this, but on the next phase, on plan B, or like what's the next step for me? I think that's where you can really grow as being a person, not just an athlete, just realizing the next step. And I think once you just realize that, I think you should be good, honestly.
Wow. Well, with that, in the interest of time, I would like to defer to our great host, Mr. DJ Delano Swift. There's not enough accolades I can give you about how great this summer experience has been. What an outstanding job you've done in representing yourself, your family. Shout out to your mom and dad. Shout out to Monmouth College, too, and what you've done, because you've basically created an opportunity for the SPS and Monmouth College to continue to work together. So you've been a great ambassador. So with that, man, I'll let you take us out. You can give me your final thoughts, your overview, whatever it is. Just don't say nothing bad about me, then hang up on the Zoom call. That's all you have.
No, I really want to appreciate you for giving me the opportunity this summer. I had a blast. I feel like I learned a lot more about a topic that I kind of brushed off a little bit. But now it's starting to become more important, and I'm starting to see the light in it. I really think that SPS is doing a lot of good work with not just locally, but nationally. And I think that the intern spot has got pretty good hands with Terry coming up next.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's great. That's great. Terry, this is your first time on this call. You know, what's your takeaway?
I love it. I think it gives athletes a chance to see the other side of things, just being at the physical side of sports. I think it gives them a chance to, like I said, like expand their comfort zone and add different things to their game that they don't know. You know, it's not just about upping your handles or getting your jump shot better. It's all about mental. You know, once you up that up, I mean, nobody can really stop you but yourself. And I think that's probably the most powerful weapon you can have on the court, on the field, or wrestling, anything that you want. You got to get your mind right.
Yeah, very good, very good. Well, as always, I want to thank Coach Orlando Watkins, Houston, making sure that we're good out here in Nassau. I want to thank Terry for coming on board and the opportunity for him to come be a part of what we have. We'll talk more about that. And thank our great intern, DJ. When do you physically leave, DJ? When are you on the road?
In 3 days. I head back home.
3 days?
Yes, sir. 3 days. Still packing them now. I got a bunch of clothes on the bed.
Man, this summer comes and goes. Well, you know, you're always welcome. You're part of SPS family, so if anything we can do for you, we are here for you all the time. Just know that, and I thank you. So with that, we can sign off. I'll close us out. The next time you see us, we'll be back with some new faces doing some great things for you. So this is Lindsey Huddleston, DJ Delano Swift, Terry McCord, and Coach Orlando Watkins signing off for the SPS Mental Toughness Zoom class. We'll see you guys next time.